NBC Bay Area's Brent Cannon spoke with a constitutional law professor to sort through what the justices considered to make their ruling. Brent.
Yeah, not many people expected Chief Justice Roberts to side with the more liberal justices, but he did. He may have been separating out what powers Congress does and does not have, or he may have been looking at his role and the role of the High Court in history.
In some ways might be Chief Justice Roberts' defining moment. I think he's looking well into the future about the legitimacy of the court, about his place in the court.
The dissenting justices were clear in their message. Had they prevailed, they would have thrown out the entire bill, top to bottom. Justice Anthony Kennedy writing, "The Commerce Clause becomes a front of unlimited power." But what is curious is that no single justice authored the dissenting opinion.
Maybe nobody wants to put their name to it, but also it could be an indication that they want to present a unified front about a particular view of federal relations, that is the relationship between the federal government and state governments.
Despite his ruling, Justice Roberts did not see eye to eye completely with the more liberal justices. In fact, Justice Ginsburg issued somewhat scathing critique of Roberts' perspective.
Justice Ginsburg, in her opinion, would have voted to uphold the entire act in its entirety, both as an exercise of commerce power and as an exercise of the taxing power, and would have upheld all the conditions attached to the Medicare expansion.
Much has been made recently of the courts having the final say on issues that voters or lawmakers have already decided upon. But in this case, the High Court's ruling may actually be an example of the court staying out of the way.
This does vindicate some of the principles he talked about during his confirmation hearings about judicial modesty and the court really staying out of Congress's way, which this opinion does. At the end of the day, it allows an act passed by Congress to go into effect.
By the way, this is one of the longer rulings in the High Court history, 193 pages, and it took more than 40 minutes to read it. If nothing else, Justice Roberts' ruling shows that we cannot count on the justices to rule along so-called party lines. It would appear that he has ruled independent of party or influence.